All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So, today we're going to be talking about Windows 10 and how it's going end of life. So, a lot of you are probably still running Windows 10, or maybe you've, kind of moved over to Windows 11 begrudgingly and you haven't enjoyed your experience. I'm here to talk to you about all of it today. The first part being Windows 10, and it's the actual official end of life date, because a lot of mixed messages out there from different people, and from Microsoft themselves. They're really pushing people to Windows 10 to Windows 11 from Windows 10. So we'll talk kind of about why, when that final date is today, the features of Windows 11, and then I'd like to poll the audience too and kind of see what you guys think. If you have opinions on it, leave a comment on the Twitter post. I'm going to put up a tweet this afternoon after I get this podcast posted, and I'd like you guys to just respond to it and see what you think. Give me your opinions, because I always find that the general public has greatly varying opinions on the matter. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started and start talking about Windows 10. Alright guys, so Windows 10 has been around for a long time. The initial release date for Windows 10 is, I want to say it was back in 2015. I think it was like July of 2015. Anyway, that being said, 15, that's almost 10 years. So they're supporting this OS for 10 years. And a lot of you are sitting there thinking, that can't be right. 2015, that's 10 years ago. Yeah, by the time that this operating system goes end of life, that will basically be 10 years for this operating system. They're actually taking it out a little longer, because end of life support for Windows 10 is actually October 14th of 2025. So if you were curious and that's the reason that you came to this podcast, that's why. There's your answer, But if you were more curious about how long it's been in existence, 2015 is when it actually released. Now, if in 2015 you're still sitting there happily using Windows 7, even though Windows 8 came out and was a complete abomination and was a super huge disappointment, I don't blame you. People were really gun shy after Windows 8 release, and it was just basically a tablet OS. I'm pretty sure they put Windows 8 out with the intention of it becoming something more like Windows touchscreen devices would be more mainstream, but the manufacturers never really got behind it. The traditional laptop and the desktops still stayed popular, and I want to say laptops between the years of 2010 to 2020 were probably still more popular. The desktops were still out there, people were still using them, that kind of thing. That's not to say they went away by any means, but after COVID hit, the desktop really bounced back and became the primary form factor that people wanted to use, because let's face it, you're stuck inside, there's a quarantine, what are you going to do? Well, you don't want to bug your wife and your kids all day, you want a game. You want to do something different and exciting and fun, so you're going to get on your gaming computer, and gaming computers are most capable when they are desktops versus laptops. So, unpopular opinion there for some people, but it's really the truth. There's way more capability. So let's talk for a minute about Windows 10, some of the features that it has, what you gain, what you lose with Windows 11. Windows 10 has been out for, like I said, 10 years now. It'll be 10 years next July, basically in 1 year from now. And not a lot has changed with the operating system. Some things have, some haven't. I have been on Windows 11 since it released back in 2020, or maybe it was earlier than 2020. I remember it being 2020 when it released, or when I could actually use it anyway. But Windows 11 released back in 2020, and I've been using it ever since then. I obviously still get machines in here that I fix on a regular basis that run Windows 10. And there's nothing wrong with that. Windows 10 is still a good operating system. It's pretty solid. It's what is used in corporate environments. And honestly, I have no grumbles about Windows 10, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. For a while there was a couple of bad updates that were being pushed that would corrupt people's drives, or just the operating system and cause boot failures and things like that. And I was highly recommending people move to Windows 11 because during that time, 11 seemed like it was a lot more stable. Windows 10 offers you the ability to have your start menu back, albeit with some tiles, and the start menu's on the left-hand side. I personally have not been a huge fan of the Windows 10 start menu. The Windows 10 start menu has always been too big and cluttered for me. And I know you can customize that a little bit more, but I've always hated it. I didn't like it still tried to maintain some of that Windows 8-ness, and it hasn't ever gone away with the App Store apps there showing as live tiles on the right-hand side of your start menu. So, and if you're on a Windows 10 computer and you pop open the start menu, you'll see exactly what I mean. For most consumer-grade computers, that's what you see when you open up the start menu. If you're on a corporate desktop machine, you'll still see them, but it looks more like your pinned applications that you would use. So, like on my work computer, I have it up right now. Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Publisher. Those aren't even the apps that I use all the time, but those are just the ones that they chose to put in that space for me. So, that being said, Windows 11 cleans it up a lot. A lot of people are getting kind of annoyed with the fact that the start menu is centered versus being off to the left. It's not a problem, guys. Windows 11 actually allows you to modify that. The only thing that Windows 11 doesn't let you do with the taskbar is put it on the sides. And that's just what it is. I think, I want to say that there are some third-party modifications you can do to get that to happen, but the taskbar stays at the bottom. So there's no scooching it off to the left or scooching it off to the right or anything like that. It just stays at the bottom. That's where it belongs. That's where it's always been. Now, in my opinion, I think it belongs there, but some of you guys like having your start menu on the right-hand side because you don't like it taking up real estate at the bottom when you're trying to scroll a web page. I have widescreen monitors. I would hate to have that on the side of my monitors. I absolutely dislike start menus being on the side. It's like they weren't designed for it to be there. So that's not a problem for me. Windows 11 is adding some features that are a little bit annoying. But essentially, when it first started out, it was a reskinned Windows 10. We've got, a more modern aesthetic to it, a smaller active window bar up at the top. When you go to grab your apps, it's actually a little smaller than Windows 10. The bars up at the top just aren't as thick, kind of where the app title is when you go to grab Microsoft Edge, or if you go to grab Adobe Audition, like what I'm recording in right now. Those bars are just a little smaller. And that being said, it can be a little frustrating that way. Sometimes you, for me, when I go to grab one of my Office applications and drag it around, it's oftentimes there's the title can be edited live in the bar up at the top of like a Word doc or a PowerPoint or whatever. Luckily, I don't use Word or PowerPoint often when it comes to my personal PC, so it's not usually a problem. But when it does come time to do that for Windows 11 in the corporate environment, I can see people getting really annoyed by it because there's just not a lot of real estate to drag your window around with. So, other features with Windows 11. Obviously, Microsoft Edge has been out for a long time as the primary browser. When our Internet Explorer was phased out by Microsoft, which is probably for the best because Internet Explorer was honestly terrible and too many things were built on that platform for corporate environments, and it was time to get with the program. Edge runs on the Chromium platform, same as Chrome, so it's built a lot the same. As is Brave, as is a few other browsers. No big deal there. Edge does push a lot of the Microsoft junk at you. When you first start up Edge, you've got that toolbar on the right-hand side. It kind of shows the Microsoft most frequently used apps like Office and Copilot and all that junk. You can actually hide that pretty easily. Windows Explorer in Windows 11 is very different. And I like it, actually. Windows 11 offers a Windows Explorer window that loads 10 times faster than Windows 10 does. Um, I will say that every time that I go to open Windows Explorer in Windows 11, it opens immediately. It never hesitates like it used to in Windows 10. So there's something to be said for that, I can definitely say. And then when it comes to the operation of your File Explorer window, your File Explorer actually will, it has tabbed options in Windows 11. So you can actually, if you're, say you're in one folder and you're like, shoot, I don't remember where that was located in another folder, you can actually press the plus button at the top of the File Explorer window to open a new tab. And it's kind of like tabbed browsing, but it's tabbed browsing for your personal files. So it's better. That's just my opinion. Let's take a quick 30-second break. Are you tired of working with the geeks? Well, a lot of people are. Rest easy today and bring your PC to a nerd who knows what he's doing and won't charge you a fortune to do basic repairs. Hi, I'm Brandon, owner of BG Tech Repair here in Cedar Rapids, and I've been working on computers for over 15 years and delivering a 5-star experience to everyone who walks through my door. So if your computer is on the fritz, sick, or just won't start, bring it to BG Tech Repair, where most new parts arrive within 2 days, not 2 weeks. BG Tech Repair. Tech repair from someone who cares. Don't hate me for it, but I think it's great. Let's see, what else is there? Windows 11 feature-wise, it's very feature-rich now. When it first started out, like I said, it was pretty much a reskinned Windows 10, but the features that they've begun to introduce are way more intuitive, I guess. The one thing I don't like is Copilot is all over the place. That's the new thing that Microsoft is pushing, and I cannot say that I'm a huge fan of it. So, that being said, Windows 10, great OS, solid, been out for a number of years. People praise it left and right. People are afraid. They're gun shy. The normal thing with everyone is every other Windows OS. It's like every other, because, you had Windows 95 that was great. Windows 98 was terrible. Windows ME, or wait, what was after Windows 98? Wasn't it Windows 2000 that was stable? And then Windows ME was terrible. And then XP was amazing. And then Vista, of course, was awful. And then after Vista, but Vista was awful, but it was beautiful. So you got to give it points for that. And after Vista, it was, quit drawing a blank, Windows 7. And after 7, 7 was obviously stable and everyone loved it. And then 10, and then after 10, you've got 11. So, and I skipped 8 and 8.1 because I don't count those. I feel like they were at a time when Microsoft was trying to get into the tablet game, and because everyone else was, Apple and iPad and everything like that. But it does count because computers did ship with it. It was the primary OS for a long time for a lot of PCs. So, but anyway, yeah, 8 was terrible, then 10 was great. So the expectation is that 11 is going to be awful. But honestly, that's not been my experience with Windows 8. I've actually had a great experience with not Windows 8, Windows 11. I'm sorry. Now I'm talking about Windows 8 and I'm getting thrown off here. Windows 11, my experience has been excellent. The updates have been great. Everything that's come through has been pretty stable. So, which it should be. We're 5 years into the OS having been out. I think the initial release was a beta in 2020, but it's still very, it's working. It's working, and it's been on my computer for the longest time. And any of the issues that I've had have never been with the actual Windows operating system itself. It's always been with, like, I had Western Digital hard drives in my machine, as secondary setups, and it would cause Windows to boot loop because the drives were failing. So I removed the drives, and lo and behold, everything started working. So, but anyway, But back to it. For those of you who are curious and genuinely would like to know when Windows 11 is going end of life, it looks like that date for Windows 10 is going to be October 14th of 2025. So what does that mean then, I guess, is the question. Essentially, that just means that you will no longer receive updates for Windows 10. Your Windows 10 will essentially quit receiving security updates, and the risks that go along with it kind of suck, to be honest. I mean, with not getting security updates and things like that, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to more viruses. Now, granted, yes, being on Windows in general does have its own does come with its own set of risks, just simply because Windows is more susceptible to viruses, just because it's what people primarily use. So, if hackers and people who want to exploit you are looking for a way to do it, they typically target those who use Windows, which is why there's a lot of Mac users out there who are like, we never get viruses. But in all honesty, that's not true either. I have cleaned up a ton of Macs that get viruses, so Windows 10, as long as you got that Windows Security Center, which comes with it, from right out of the gate, you're fine. You're fine. Add an ad blocker and surf responsibly, and you shouldn't have any problems. But yeah, October 14th, 2025, so it means you got a little more than a year. 1 year and 3 months, basically, at this point to get your act together. So you either upgrade to Windows 11 or you are stuck on a computer that doesn't have the capability. So another thing to keep in mind with everything here is if you have a computer that is older than 2018, a lot of the processor models prior to 2018 are not supported for Windows 11, which also really sucks. I think of it as Microsoft's middle finger to people who like to run older hardware. There's some pretty good machines out there that run quite well and are still a little bit older. Those machines would still have the capability to run Windows 11, just based on if there wasn't essentially Microsoft telling you, hey, because your operating system or because your processor is too old, you can't run this, you could run Windows 11 on your PC. Would it run well? I don't know. I don't know. Everyone has a different PC. Everyone's PC is in a different state of health. Everyone's PC has different hardware in it. No two PCs are exactly the same. I mean, maybe they are if you are buying them pre-built and the builder is just using the same kind of components over and over. But even then, those components are at different ages and manufactured probably in different factories or at different time frames, so their lifespan could be different. Like I said, nothing is exactly the same. So when it comes down to it, though, if you're running a computer that you bought before 2018 and you're not sure if you can do Windows 11 on said computer, basically what you're going to look for is an Intel processor. Most computers that are sold in store are Intel processors that you would go to Best Buy and purchase, pick one up off the shelf. There are AMD processor models out there, and those are also, you can use Windows 11 on AMD processors, but Intel is the most common one that you're going to see. So Intel, anything 8th generation, so if you have a Core i5 8250 or something like that, you can run Windows 11. Anything prior to the 8th generation of Intel, so if you have a 7th gen Intel Core i5, you just miss out. There is probably a way around the processor thing. If you install a beta version of Windows 11 and then just ignore the processor warning, but there's no processor warning in the new installations of Windows 11 that are readily available. The current versions that are readily available for you to download on the internet as of right now anyway will all tell you that your version of your PC is incompatible, and you just won't be able to upgrade it. So Windows is essentially telling you you need to buy a new PC that has Windows 11 or suffer. So, and a lot of people, there's not a lot of people that will they'll basically say, oh, I know I need a new computer, and then they'll go buy a new computer. They'll be like, it has been a while, but it's not your fault, guys. It's not your fault. 6 years is not a very long time to keep a computer for. Like a working desktop that has had no issues, and maybe 7 years ago you had a solid state drive installed in it, and you're still running just fine, and you have no complaints about the operation of it. Keep using it. We'll see where it's at in October of 2025, and if it's end of life and you want to keep using it, then you can. Just make sure you've got really good virus protection on it. And know that the updates that you are not receiving could potentially leave you open to security threats. So that's pretty much it for my soapbox today. My recommendation is, if you're not on Windows 11 and you're on Windows 10 and you're one of the holdouts that's just sitting there saying, well, I don't want to switch, and your computer is compatible, quit whining and switch. It's time. Windows 11 is great. The experience is wonderful. It's a lot more feature rich, and I know that there's a lot of you out there who don't like feature rich, but you will get used to it. It's a change, and it's a change for the better. Windows 10, still a great operating system. If you want to keep using it up until the last minute, go ahead. I just think you're only delaying the greatness that is Windows 11 on your computer. So that's pretty much all. That's pretty much it today. I don't have a lot else to talk about. If you're a Mac user, sorry for wasting your time. But this channel is not just devoted to Windows stuff. It's also devoted to pretty much everything computer related. So I am an IT guy, so I talk about everything that kind of comes down the pipeline here, and I try to be, cognizant of all that stuff. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.